Hey guys, Bix Weir, Ruda.com. Just when I was going to close up for year end, Fed announces a monster reverse repo. I think, there could be a few reasons why they did this. First of all, let me show you Federal Reserve Bank of New York website this morning. They had the ability to do 150, 250, anything they wanted really, and they only did 25. Everybody's like, no crisis at all. I pointed out, oh, by the way, they're cooking the books with the $1.5 trillion in cash around the world, supposedly, that Steve Mnuchin said. But apparently, either two things happened, because we had a monster reverse repo, which is the opposite of repo. So the Fed's not handing out money, they're pulling money in and selling treasuries. $64 billion in treasuries the Fed sold and was sopped up by the market. Now, two things. One, it could be Jamie Dimon found extra $100 bills lying around, or they fudged it so much they had an extra $64 billion lying around, and why not, make a little money off it, right? That's one possibility. The books were cooked any way you slice it. The other possibility, and more likely, is the Fed was pushing treasuries into the market to destroy or lower the interest rates, short-term interest rates. That's what the Fed game is. As a matter of fact, that looks like exactly what happened. Here's November, here's December. Rates were spiking over 1.8. What do they do? A $64 billion reverse repo to slam it down. Pure market manipulation, ridiculous. But the Fed, that's their job, to market manipulate. Question I have is the cooking of the books by Jamie Dimon and Goldman Sachs. Will that be called into question? I don't know. It got them past, at least so far, midnight tonight. But nothing changes next week. Next week they're gonna kick it in again because they don't have to report again until the end of the third quarter. So all of a sudden you're going to see more and more repos being added to the overall count. Proof of this, that they were just trying to get the interest rates down. Martin Armstrong, who's brilliant, Repo Crisis for year end has had the Fed pumping in a staggering amount of about $234 billion into the repo markets. They are exchanging high quality capital for cash to suppress market volatility and maintain central banks' overnight funds level, which is used as a benchmark for other short-term interest rates within the range 1.5 to 1.75%. People who fail to understand this institutional market keep thinking it's quantitative easing. With inflation low and unemployment back in the 1960s levels, there is no reason for quantitative easing to support the economy. Instead, the Fed is trying to maintain control over short-term rates, for the free market is pushing them higher. This means the actions of the Fed are an attempt to prevent the rise in interest rates, not to stimulate the economy. That's what the Fed's doing, true, but there's also another thing going on behind the scenes with JP Morgan and the rehypothecation of Treasury bills, as in multiple owners of Treasury bills. That's really scary. On Monday alone, the Fed injected another $18.5 billion into the two-day repo operation and $30.8 billion in the one-day operation. However, both issues were undersubscribed, which is confirming that there is a lot of book squaring going on into the end of the year. Book cooking, I would call it, Martin. As this has been reflected in currency markets as short-term positions were closed out in thin trading in the euro. So Martin's take is the Fed's just doing its job, trying to keep interest rates low artificially. My take is it's much deeper than that. As a matter of fact, we had 4 banks right here. 4 banks closed down, at least updated on December 19th. Everything now, 4 banks is a lot. Something was going on to square the books on December 19th. I don't know what it is. This is from the FDIC, which is a ridiculous institution because they don't have the money they insure. Less than 1% of what they insure, they have money for. So any large bank failure, they have to go right to Congress to get the FDIC to. And then there's all kinds of other problems. All right, let's take a look at this. This is the Road to Ruda analysis. I put this on Patreon and I put it on the private road. This is where we are today. As you can tell from the total right here, We are over $500 billion that the banks need between now and it would be the 2nd. That's the number right now. They might add some more, but I doubt it. So $506 billion is needed for the banks to stay solvent overnight. Now, the way I got here, as you can tell, you can see the big jump in overnights. I add the repos and the reverse repos. I don't net them out. It's only an overnight type of thing. It is required for the banks to stay solvent for the Fed to make these moves. So, of course, I'm going to add them together. Because without them, without the huge influx, $64 billion reverse repo, the rates would have spiked and kept spiking right here. So this is all part of the bailout. So I add them all together, and you should add them all together. Now, it's only overnight, so on the 2nd, it will be removed. Except the cumulative keeps going and the term maturity. So got to get on the road to Ruda to get this information. Right now, banks need, as of the end of the year, $500 billion to stay solvent until Thursday, the 2nd. And that's going to keep growing. My take is, I thought we'd hit 700 billion. That's a good number to jump up and down and say, hey, in 2008, you had to go to Congress to get the 700 billion. Now you've already lent the banks 500 billion. It's going to 700 in January. Mark my words, it'll go to 700 billion in January. That's the number that we can jump up and down and say, we bailed you out last time and it had to be, we said we would never bail out again. And the Fed is still lying that this is not a bailout. They're just saying, oh, it's just extra liquidity. But it's not just overnight because they keep getting rolled over again and again and again. So anyway, that's your update. I thought I was done, but I'm not. Monster, the biggest that I've ever seen, reverse repo, to make this happen, to stop the spiking in interest rates, which is odd because they already changed the rules as to what they have to report on interest rates so that they won't have another 10% spike. But they didn't even want to spike at all today. They didn't want that headline. So what did they do? They dumped treasuries onto the market. $64 billion worth of them. Wouldn't it be great to just have $64 billion worth of stuff to throw around? A little bit here, a little bit there. It's a con, it's a fraud, all under control of the Fed. The member banks, they're all colluding together. You know, Jamie Dimon meets with the Federal Reserve every month to talk. That should scare everybody. You want more information on this, go to roadtoruda.com. Hit the search button. You can search for anything you want. Search repo. Now, that's mostly on YouTube. How about silver manipulation? Which should end any day, by the way. You will find 1,128 articles on silver manipulation at the Road to Ruda. Go to Road to Ruda. Join today. You guys have a great New Year's. I might chime in tomorrow, depending on what I do tonight. Other than that, you guys take care.
Well, here's a true story about a man just like you. He worked his whole life, he was honest and true. Built up a nest egg the way they said to. Invest in the market, money works for you. And everything is fine, picking the winners every time. Started to believe he can make dollars out of dime. Little did he know he's being primed for a fall. The riggers let you play, then the riggers steal the ball. We want free markets, not a million phantom trades. Unless everyone's honest, we're gonna lose what we made. Got to shut down exchanges, trade one for one. If we want free markets, well, our work's just begun. Free markets are the road to freedom. Capitalism, not as bad as they say. The world has never tried it, rigging markets every day. Socialists fail every time in every way. Need a better system to forge a better day. We want free markets, not a million phantom trades. Lest everyone's honest, we're gonna lose what we made. We gotta shut down exchanges till they trade one for one. We want free markets, our work's just begun. Free markets are the road to freedom. I said free markets are the road to freedom. Crypto solution, if only done right. We can take out the liars, bring dark into light, and trust in the math, not the people who lie. I think we can make it if we give it a try. We want free markets, not a million phantom trades. Lest everyone's honest, we're gonna lose what we made. We gotta shut down exchanges till they trade one for one. We want free markets, our work's just begun. 'Cause free markets are the road to freedom. I said free markets are the road to freedom. Free markets are the road to freedom.